Zwift Boost Mode is the cycling equivalent of Mr. Burns' synthetic muscle suit in the joy of sect. You ever notice how Zwift isn't really a video game? It's more kind of video game adjacent. Boost Mode really feels like Zwift's attempt to make Zwift feel more like a game. So, what is Boost Mode? It's effectively a battery, a boost that you can charge and release in game for added watts. Basically, there's a sprinter burst, there's kind of a VO2 max 1 to 2 minute sort of power burst, and there's an efficient longer term burst. So, kind of depends on if you want to complement your existing strengths or if you want to bolster your weaknesses. I go for the coward's route, I pick the balanced approach. Of course, this power does not come for free, so you can see here, while I'm charging, I'm penalized 100 watts. I gotta work 100 watts harder to maintain my pace. And to be honest, that's pretty hard to mess this up. With double drafting and the pretty predictable cadence and flow of how things go in Crit City, like, you're gonna have a pretty good sense of when to charge and when not to charge. That said, I do screw up here. I charge on the back stretch, which is kind of a false flat, into some rollers, and the group makes a bit of a gap on me. So don't make the same mistake I did, for the love of God. So, what does this all amount to? Well, basically, this is a power fantasy. And I'll be honest, it feels pretty good. You feel like a pretty big badass, putting out a lot of watts and bridging gaps or making a bit of a break in a couple 100 meters, but it's a bit of a fabrication, right? These are fantasy watts. One thing Boost makes it really easy to do is to catch attacks. I rode this a few weeks ago with a really strong Canadian rider who I won't name here. He kept trying to attack over and over and over. Every time he did, I would just boost, get on his wheel, recharge as he was recovering and as the group was catching up, over and over and over. I just totally cheesed it. And he couldn't get away. He couldn't get away. So I mean, like, and it felt a little too gamey. One thing that is very cool and very interesting is that power-ups are still active. So you can see right here I have my drafting boost on, and I put that on while I am charging. So I don't know the exact math here, but basically that negative 100 watts that I'm being penalized while charging, I think I'm almost totally negating with this drafting boost. So this whole idea of stacking power-ups opens up some pretty interesting kind of strategic possibilities. And the thing I like about that is that it really allows you to come up with a plan for your race. So right here I have 2 charges and I just picked up a feather. We got about 4 laps to go, about halfway. But basically in my head, I'm saying to myself, okay, when is good for me to attack? Maybe the last lap, maybe that last Crit City hill. I'm just going to use my feather and my charge, my boost, at the same time, and that's going to give me just a huge, massive jump, which could give me a really good shot at winning. And that's a really fun feeling. Like, based on your strengths and the course and whatever else, you can have a plan. You can have a plan for how you're going to try to win this race beyond just trying to stick it out in the sprint or whatever else. Like, there is a real sense of advantage that you have here with the boost and with the power-ups that you can really put into effect. And my plan works out okay. So I attack like hell here. I'm going. I got the feather active. I've used my first charge, and I use my second charge right away. And I've got a couple of seconds into the group. You can really see the group is splitting apart, but I do get caught. Yeah, you can see a couple of Rory Calhouns here catch me. One of them boosts and he just gets away. I managed to drop this guy. Meanwhile, somebody's bridging up behind me. I don't know if he boosted or what, but I end up third. Not great, not terrible. Probably could have executed this better, but hey, that was fun. So, do I love this feature? Well, it's okay. I think the strategic element that comes with it, it's fun. That power fantasy does feel good. But do you remember when you'd use cheat codes to get through a hard level of StarCraft or Doom or Quake or whatever? In the moment, you really do feel like Thrillhouse entering his name for the first time. But after a little bit, you always felt kind of hollow. This is not the exact same situation that's happening here, I know. This isn't God mode. I had an okay plan. I had 3 power-ups here, and I still didn't quite quite win. Even so, that third place didn't really feel as good as it might normally, because it's not really totally you getting there. Sure, there are feathers and aero boosts. They really just kind of hint at this power fantasy, but this boost stuff, I think it just sort of shovels it into your mouth a little bit too much. It feels a bit too much like Mario Kart. It's not quite the blue shell, but it's closer than it's ever been within Zwift. Because the thing is, Zwift is not Mario Kart because I don't think Zwift is really even a video game. And this is the first update that really swings Zwift into that game direction or tries to. And I guess that my question is that something that we really want? Zwift is game adjacent, and I think that kind of works. And real fitness games are coming. I just beta tested Hustle City. That, at its core, is a video game. From the ground up, it is designed to be a video game. And I don't think Zwift, at its very core, is designed to be a game. It's hard to make something that isn't a game to begin with into a game. It's kind of like trying to turn an endurance bike into a crit bike. You know, you slam the stem, you slap a negative 1730 millimeter stem on there, you install some sketchy set of you install some sketchy set of Craigslist tubular 404s, and it just doesn't feel like a race bike. Like, you know, like you look at it, you look at the side profile, you try to take a good Instagram photo of it. The head tube's a bit too long, the geometry is just kind of off, and it's just not right. And then you try to race it, and it just kind of groans and creaks, and it doesn't really turn in right. It's just never gonna feel like an actual crit bike because it isn't. It isn't. There are absolutely times when something is lesser than the sum of its parts. So, you know what, boost mode, I get it. Maybe people are into this. I'm not seeing a lot of people in these races. I don't think it's going to last. I kind of like it. I don't find myself coming back to it that often. 3 steamed hams out of 5. 3. I can't go higher than 3.